Hi, welcome to episode 2 of Just Say It podcast. I'm your host, Brittany, and today we will be discussing when purpose meets pressure. If you're listening today, I want you to know this space was created intentionally for you, especially if you're someone who gives deeply, carries responsibility quietly, and often finds yourself navigating purpose alongside pressure. In our last episode, we talked about clarity and what it means to slow down long enough to listen. We all know listening is important to whatever your calling is. Today, we're going to talk about something that often hides beneath purpose, and that's that huge word that begins with the letter P: pressure. Many of us aren't tired from doing meaningless things, we're tired from doing meaningful things without support, boundaries, or permission to rest. Yep, that would be givers. I don't know about you, but I've excessively put myself in the space of these three characteristics. I've lacked the boundaries of saying I shouldn't get involved. I've even gotten angry with others and been disappointed for not supporting the things that I committed to and they didn't. In addition to that, I've always felt guilty when it was time to just rest and choose myself. So let's get a better understanding of purpose versus pressure. We have to have an understanding of this to be able to steward our gift properly. If you don't understand purpose and pressure and the difference, it's really easy to get lost on a journey where you have good intentions. Purpose feels grounding, while pressure feels urgent. Purpose invites, but pressure demands. Many people confuse the two because they can coexist. You can love what you do and still feel overwhelmed by how much of yourself it requires. Let me repeat that because that's a very important statement in what we're doing here. You can love what you do and still feel overwhelmed by how much of yourself it requires. This is where we must understand purpose aligns with your values and capacity, but pressure ignores capacity altogether. Ask yourself, when I think about what I'm doing, do I feel a sense of peace beneath the effort? Or do I feel constant tension, fear of letting others down, or anxiety about slowing down? Pressure often sounds like, if I don't do this, everything will fall apart. They're counting on me. I can rest later. These are common statements that I've heard myself repeatedly say. However, now I realize these are very unhealthy ways of thinking. Often in times of pressure, we're feeling it because we put that tension on ourselves. It's not the urgency of the matter, but just our conscience telling us that we have to get this done soon as we can, simply because we feel that we are the fixer. And many times we want to be the fixer because we just hate to see people hurting, or we want to be the person that makes the difference. But the question is, are we meant to be the fixer in this specific moment? It's important that we understand purpose sounds quieter and it allows room to breathe. So let's discuss a little further. Why do givers carry more than they should? If you're a giver, you've likely been rewarded for being dependable. People come to you because you respond, because you care, because you make things work. Over time, that reinforcement can turn into expectation, not only from others, but from yourself. So now you feel like you must help. You have to help. There's no choice. You may feel responsible for outcomes that were never yours to carry. This is when we have to ask ourselves, are we using discernment in our decision making skills? Let me say this clearly. Being capable does not mean you are assigned to everything. Capacity is not infinite, and honoring your limits does not diminish your purpose. It protects it. This is where many people burn out, not because they lack passion, but because they lack permission to pause. The pause is necessary. You need that for clarity and discernment. Again, take your minute, insist on setting boundaries that avoid pressure and help you to have proper clarity with your purpose. If you don't do these things, you will continue to feel burned out. And burnout is no good to the people you're helping or even yourself. So now let's discuss faith, calling, and healthy discernment. In faith centered spaces, calling is often framed as sacrifice without boundaries. But wisdom teaches discernment. Discernment asks, is this mine to carry right now? Does this align with my season? What is the cost of saying yes? Even meaningful work can become misaligned when it is fueled by fear or guilt instead of clarity. Rest is not rebellion. Boundaries are not disobedience, they are wisdom. So, my question to you is, do you know if you're operating in pressure? That was a difficult question for me to ask myself many days. Let's discuss some of the signs that show you are working under pressure. You feel anxious when you stop. You struggle to say no even when you're exhausted. You explain yourself excessively. You feel guilty resting. You measure your worth by your output. The assignment never had anything to do with your worth, but instead what you were intended to put in the earth. If you recognize yourself in any of these, raise your hand. Yep, me too. I'm included. When I began to ask myself these questions, life changed drastically for me. I no longer feel obligated to just help because I can. Instead, I practice discernment. I pray and meditate on the proper decision. That is so important. This always leads me to know what's my assignment and where I'm getting involved in areas that I shouldn't, taking on extra stress that was never intended for me to experience. And I've had that habit bad. I've stressed myself to boundaries of burnout, exhaustion, sometimes even depression because I put myself in a position that I never should have been in. Whatever steps you need to now implement to make healthy decisions, please make that something that you practice regularly. By just taking that simple step, you are now able to avoid pressure, disappointment, and unnecessary stress. Please remember, awareness is the beginning of alignment. You have to know how to steward the gift to use it properly. As we close today, I want to leave you with this. You are allowed to care. You can care deeply and still choose sustainability. You are allowed to be called and still rest. You are allowed to give without depletion. You are human. You are not God. You cannot solve every problem in the world for people. You can't solve, some things are just out of your hands, and you have to accept that. And you have to accept that sometimes when you want to fix it, it won't be your assignment to fix, and you need to get out the way so the person who is assigned to that situation can steward it properly. I hope that something I shared with you today was effective in whatever it is that you're doing in the world today, activating your purpose. I hope that something that I shared today motivated you to make healthier decisions as well. I look forward to speaking with you on episode 3 of Just Say It, and have a great day.